I opened the door at the wrong time and lost my whole family. I never believed that one single moment could destroy a life. People say everything changes slowly. Little lies, small betrayals, tiny cracks that grow over the years. But that's not how it happened to me. For me, everything ended the second I opened that door. It was an ordinary evening. Rain hit the windows, the house smelled like dinner, and my phone battery was dead. I remember thinking how normal everything felt. Calm, almost boring. My parents were supposed to be in the living room. My brother said he'd come by later, and I just wanted to grab my charger before heading out again. Nothing felt wrong, until I heard voices upstairs. At first, I laughed. My family was loud. Someone was probably arguing about money again. But then I heard my mother's voice, soft, nervous, the kind she used when she was hiding something. That was strange. I moved quietly down the hallway, not really thinking, just curious. The door to my father's study was half closed. Light spilled into the corridor. I reached for the handle without knocking. And that's when everything froze. Inside, my mother wasn't alone. She stood too close to someone. Close enough that I couldn't pretend it was innocent. Her hand was trembling, his face buried against her shoulder. It took me 2 full seconds to realize who he was. 2 seconds where my brain refused to understand what my eyes were seeing. My brother. I stepped back so fast I hit the wall. The sound made them turn. 3 faces stared at each other. Shock, fear, and something I still can't name. No one spoke. The silence was louder than any scream. "It's not what you think," my mother said first. That sentence is a lie people tell when the truth is worse. I laughed, a short, broken sound, because there were no words big enough for what I felt. My brother moved toward me, hands raised like he wanted to explain, but I backed away. "Don't," I said. My voice sounded choujoy, like it belonged to someone else. I ran downstairs, grabbed my jacket, and left the house without looking back. Rain soaked me in seconds, but I barely noticed. My phone buzzed again and again, calls, messages, but I didn't answer. I kept walking until the streets blurred. That night, I slept in my car. The next morning, I thought maybe it had been a misunderstanding. Maybe I'd imagined something. Maybe there was context, a secret, a reason. People don't just do that. Families don't break like that. I went back home hoping for answers. Instead, I found chaos. My father was shouting so loudly the neighbors were outside. My brother stood in the kitchen, pale and shaking. My mother cried at the table, repeating the same words over and over. I didn't want this to happen. No one noticed me at first. Then my father turned and looked at me, really looked, like I carried the final piece of proof. "You saw them," he said quietly. It wasn't a question. I nodded. Something in his face collapsed. That was the moment I realized he didn't know before. The secret had been living in the house while we ate together, laughed together, called ourselves a family. And I was the one who opened the door. The argument exploded again. Accusations flew. My brother screamed that it wasn't what people thought. My father called him a traitor. My mother begged everyone to stop. I stood there useless, feeling like the world tilted sideways. Then my father said something that changed everything. "He's not your brother." The room went silent. I laughed again because it sounded insane. My mother covered her face. My brother, or the person I thought was my brother, stared at the floor. Years ago, before I was born, my parents had separated for a while. There had been mistakes, secrets buried and never discussed. The truth was simple and terrifying. We weren't related the way I believed. The man I grew up with wasn't my father's son. The air felt heavy, hard to breathe. Suddenly, every memory felt fake. Birthdays, vacations, inside jokes. The foundation of my life shifted under my feet. But that revelation didn't fix anything. If anything, it made it worse. Over the next week, our house turned into a battlefield. My father moved out. My mother stopped eating. My brother disappeared for days at a time. Every phone call felt like another explosion waiting to happen. I tried to hold everything together, making coffee, cleaning, pretending normal was possible. But the silence between us grew heavier each day. Then came the second blow. My father filed for divorce and told me he couldn't look at the house anymore. He said every room reminded him of lies. When he left, he took nothing but a suitcase. My mother blamed herself, then blamed him, then blamed fate. I stopped understanding who was right or wrong. I only knew I was tired. One evening, my brother came back. We sat in the backyard without speaking for a long time. Finally, he said, "I never wanted you to find out like that." I asked him the one question I'd been afraid to ask. Was it real? He didn't answer immediately. When he finally did, his voice broke. I don't know. That hurt more than any confession. Weeks passed. The family group chat went silent. Holidays were canceled. Friends stopped asking questions because I never knew what to say. I began to understand something painful. People don't just lose families through death. Sometimes they lose them through truth. The final crack came on my birthday. I invited everyone, hoping, stupidly, that one dinner could fix us. Only my father showed up. He sat across from me in a quiet restaurant, older than I remembered. He gave me a small box. Inside was a key. "The house is yours now," he said. "I'm leaving the city." I felt my throat tighten. "What about Mom?" He shook his head. "Some things can't be repaired." He left before dessert. I went home alone. The house felt empty, echoes replacing voices. On the table was a note from my mother, short, shaky handwriting. She was moving away too. She said she needed a fresh start, somewhere no one knew our story. And just like that, they were gone. I walked through every room that night. Family photos still hung on the walls, smiling versions of us frozen in time. I realized those moments had been real, even if the truth behind them wasn't what I thought. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't opened that door. Maybe the secret would have stayed hidden longer. Maybe my parents would still be together. Maybe we would still sit at the same table pretending everything was fine. But then I remember the silence, the tension, the lies that already lived there. The door didn't destroy my family. It just revealed what was already broken. Now the house is quiet. I cook dinner for one. I answer fewer calls. I'm learning that losing a family doesn't mean losing yourself. But it takes time to believe that. And every now and then, when rain hits the windows at night, I think about that moment again. The door, the light, the truth waiting on the other side. I opened it at the wrong time. Or maybe exactly when I had to. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what moment shocked you the most and what you felt while listening. Your thoughts really matter.